Have you ever thought, I have a low voice, and so I guess that higher notes are not for me? Or if I had a higher voice, I'd be more talented? If those beliefs are living somewhere within you, then this video is for you. If you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Jimena Cabrera. I'm a singer, songwriter, and vocal coach, and I am the founder of the Singing Panda, a singing academy where we help you develop your voice holistically, that is technically, emotionally, and mentally. This is part 2 of our series on high notes. In part 1, we talked about the hidden beliefs that make high notes feel harder than they actually are. If you haven't watched it yet, I'll leave a link below. Today, we're continuing the conversation by looking into a topic that is usually misunderstood, which is voice types. Here we have the classical classification of voice types. From lower to higher ranges, for female voices, we have contralto, mezzo-soprano, and soprano. And for male type voices, we have bass, baritone, and tenor. We're going to be looking into some of the most common misunderstanding regarding voice types. And here is the first one. My current range defines my voice type. I have worked with many singers who believe that their voice types are determined by what they can sing right now. For example, they believe that they are an alto, or they believe that they are a baritone based on the fact that they cannot yet access the higher notes in their ranges, but that's only because they haven't trained their voices yet. But here is an important shift. Your voice type describes your potential train range, not your current limitations. One thing to understand then is that your range reflects your current level of vocal development, but not your potential. This actually happened to me as well. I'm a soprano, and I once joined a choir before training my voice, and I was placed as a mezzo-soprano because I couldn't actually yet, sing the notes, the higher notes that belong to a soprano. But later on, obviously, after training my voice, I was able to sing the soprano parts. And so this happens to absolutely all of us. And the important thing is to understand that there's a process and your voice needs training to be able to sing all the potential notes. Belief number 2, voice types are a ranking system. So many singers ask me, especially at the beginning of their training, what type of voice type do I have? But the question that I'm hearing underneath is, am I good enough? They believe that being a soprano is better than being a mezzo-soprano, or that being a tenor is better than being a baritone. And this is, of course, not true. In that case, I ask students to, instead of comparing voice types, to compare string instruments. Let's imagine that we are comparing a violin, a cello, and a double bass. They all use strings. Imagine saying that the violin is objectively better because it plays higher notes. That doesn't really make sense, right? They're simply different instruments, and they have different colors, and they are all beautiful in their own unique way. The same goes for voice types. Remember, voice types are not labels of talent. They are not a hierarchy. Belief number 3, certain voice types are required for success. For us to understand a little bit better why this belief is actually not true, let's have a look at the origin of voice types. Let's see where this classification comes from. And for that, we need to look into the classical and operatic traditions. Let's have a look at it. Operas are written in specific keys. Roles require very specific ranges, so classification was necessary for casting purposes. But what about contemporary music? In pop music, songs can be transposed, the key can be adjusted, and even melodies can be adapted. So as you can see, in contemporary music, there's so much more flexibility, and your success is not determined by the type of voice that you have. For example, think about Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande. They all have very different voices. They obviously sound different, they have very different ranges, but there is one thing though that they do have in common, and that is authenticity. They are not afraid to sound like themselves, and that for me is even more important than your range. So remember, success in contemporary music is not determined by fitting into a particular classical vocal category. Just as a little aside, I wanted to share with you a little bit of my own personal story. When I started out singing as a singer, I found myself also trying to manufacture my sound, trying to find a certain sound that in my case made me feel a little bit more powerful and secure because I was struggling with a little bit of, just lack of confidence in general. So I thought that by sounding like someone else, in my case, it was actually sounding a little bit lower. And so that was really, just for a soprano, for someone who has a very high voice type, then for me, trying to sound lower was pushing against who I really was. And I really, after a while, I learned that I was not even aware that I was doing this. But anyway, so after a while, I realized that there was nothing better than trying to be myself. So again, pushing against who you are is not gonna make you feel more comfortable. So in the long run, you are going to see that the best thing that you can do is try to embrace your own vocal identity. Of course, this is not to say that your range simply doesn't matter. Of course, you want to be able to explore all the possibilities that your instrument has to offer. But remember this, it's a long-term process and it takes a while. It takes patience, it takes training, and it takes time basically and consistent training. And here is a Singing Panda tip. If you truly want clarity about your voice type, the best approach is working with a trained teacher who can determine what your true voice type is based on your current range. I'm curious to know which of these beliefs that we mentioned in this video you realized you were carrying. My voice type limits me. Higher voice equals more talent. Or I need to sound like someone else to be valid. This is the second video of a series of videos where we are rebuilding our relationship with higher notes. If you're interested, in the third video, we're going to be talking about registers, about chest voice, head voice, and everything in between. So stick around if you find it interesting. Also, if you want to know a little bit more about your voice and about how you approach challenges as a singer, I created a fun personality quiz that reveals your vocal spirit animal. So if you're interested, I'm gonna leave the link below. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the videos in this series. Happy singing, everyone! Bye!